Hello everyone, Catherine Connolly was sworn in as the 10th President of Ireland today at much cost to the Irish taxpayer, of course, in St Patrick's Hall in Dublin Castle. Now, she was led up the aisle by Taoiseach Simon Harris before she went on to say a few words after she was sworn in by the Chief Justice of Ireland. Of course, many of the Irish political establishment were in attendance, and of course ex-Taoiseach, including Bertie Ahern and Brian Cowan, ex-presidents including Mary McAleese and Mary Robinson were there, and of course it was a big establishment festival. But let's go on to a few of the words that were uttered by Catherine Connolly. Now, of course, over the last few weeks we've seen the absolute farce of the presidential election and shambolic episodes that took place in terms of the withdrawal of Jim Gavin and the serious political pressure now that Fianna Fáil are under following the debacle with Jim Gavin. And according to themselves, they're going to hold back on this report and investigation into what took place. Of course, this is going to save some face for Micheál Martin, who's under massive political pressure within Fianna Fáil, and of course publicly following the fallout from that, and notwithstanding the massive amount of people who spoiled their ballot in the presidential election. But let's get on to what Catherine Connolly said. Now, she said she was elected with a powerful mandate from people. She said the people have spoken, and she was elected with a powerful mandate. Well, 25% of the electorate voted for Catherine Connolly. She got the highest amount of votes ever in a presidential election. But when you consider there was only essentially a two-horse race, it's nothing really to write home about. And if you take out the spoil the votes within that amount of people that didn't vote, that would nearly bring it to a record low of amount of people that didn't find that they had a voice in this election. Now, really, what was very interesting, what she went on to say, that she would look for just solutions across society, she said, and be a voice for everyone. Voice for people that aren't being heard, aren't being listened to. And, of course, we'll wait and see how this develops over the next number of months and years. She spoke about Irish neutrality, which again is a fundamental cornerstone of Irish independence. And of course, she spoke against war, which of course is a vitally important component of Irish neutrality. But what's important with this is the discussions and comments from Connolly around her being a steady hand. She spoke that she would be a steady presence in the Irish as she was led up the aisle by Simon Harris and went out to lunch afterwards with the whole political establishment. And of course tonight they're going to have the big event in Dublin Castle, probably about 1,600 in attendance at St Patrick's Hall at the massive banquet all at our expense to much fanfare. She also went to speak about the climate and say it was an existential crisis, and of course mentioned the word sustainable a number of times during the climate crisis. This is interesting, isn't it? Sustainable development goals. So we have more of the globalist language coming from people like Connolly. So let's see if she's going to be a thorn in the side of the establishment, which is highly unlikely, or be just another part of the establishment to keep the steady hand and the steady presence going for the Irish political establishment who are pursuing their globalist agenda. Of course, she went on to speak about diversity in Irish society and that she would be an inclusive president for everyone. So, more rhetoric, but let's see how this develops over the next period of time. And we'll see when the first piece of legislation is brought forward by the government that she will probably sign into law, much the same as what Michael D. Higgins did. Of course, we all remember the time he brought in and signed into law discrimination in our society in terms of the vaccine passports, made a two-tier society based on your medical choices. He also postponed and signed into law the eviction bill as well, and also went on further to that to implement further draconian lockdown restrictions that we're still seeing the fallout of today, rather than refer it to the Supreme Court for constitutionality of it as well. But of course, as First Citizen, she is claiming to be the guardian of the Constitution. So let's see, as I said, how that develops over the next number of months. And I suppose the first test will come when the legislation is presented in front of Catherine Connolly in this position, which is highly, highly well paid, over €330,000 per year, living in a 120-acre estate in Phoenix Park, has up to 35 members of staff, up to about 15, 16 people that work in the kitchens, including executive chefs, and up to €6.2 million being spent on the Oris and the Office of the Presidency over the next year. A lot of public money, isn't it? This is the same time we have a massive cost of living disaster, and at the same time we have so many people who are struggling, but yet that they are living in their closeted worlds, having their soirees and get-togethers at much expense to the taxpayer here in Ireland. But really part of the establishment, isn't it? This is how they operate in Irish society. So thanks for joining me tonight, and I'm really very grateful for everybody who kindly supports me through various platforms, for sharing my videos. I'm very grateful for everybody who has commented, liked my YouTube channel, and also it's very important that people share them to family, friends and people they know, to get the word out to what's really taking place in Ireland as well. And also a big thank you to Goretti and Anne, who recently supported me through buying me a coffee as well. I'm very grateful for your kind and generous support. So from Dublin on this evening, it's long and foul. Take care. Bye bye.